don't agree.
Right.
And, so I appreciate your care and I appreciate my care. But at this moment, I don't know how much that's going to help them. Let's talk about this ideology. Are you there with me?
Yeah.
Do you see the subliminals? All these are FBAers. They just they didn't just made them. They didn't went back historically and created this term and took it back and said these are FBAers, because these are people who touch us on a very emotional, affective level. As you heard about ideology, it hits you in a cognitive sense and an affective or emotional sense in order to control your actions. So who is foundational Black American and who is not? This is the key indicator that it is an ideology. Why do I say that? In group and out group. There's nothing wrong, again, with an ideology. My beef here is that you say it's not. Then I know you're going to have to go back to the drawing board and say, well, maybe we are an ideology. You're going to have to get some new catechisms or some new apologetics, or you're just going to ignore it. You're going to act like perhaps you never said you were just an ideology. Okay. So who is foundational Black American? Who is not? A foundational Black American, it gets pretty interesting, because hold on to your seatbelt or your seat or something like that. A foundational Black American is any person classified as Black who can trace their bloodline lineage back to the American system of slavery. To be designated as an FBA, at least one parent must come from a non-immigrant background in the United States. I get that. Look, I got it, cuz you with it. You ain't got to explain no more. They understand did you understand that? You are logical. With that, we don't have to say it again. We've already said it enough that we get that. But what you won't do, not you, cuz the FBAers, our brothers and sisters, is turn the corner and really accept that we're saying it. Why would you put another thing in it? It's a lineage. All right. Okay. We don't have no problem with you saying that, but we're showing you all these other aspects of it that makes it more than a quote unquote lineage, which others have shown that you misuse and misappropriated the word. And I'm not even going to that, because I think, and I'll just be honest with you as a social scientist, that you can operate. I can't even say the word, operationalize the word. You can have no problem with you doing that. I'll help you out. You can operationalize the word lineage and what you mean. You just have to define it. So how does a person trace their lineage back to American slavery? The process of determining if you are a descendant of foundational Black American survivors of American slave trade is relatively easy. 5 years after formal slavery was abolished in America, the U.S. government provided detailed information about the foundational Black American population for the first time. The 1870 census provided the first detailed accounting of the Black population, and if a person can trace their lineage to the 1870 census, they are most likely a descendant, most likely a descendant of foundational Black Americans who were enslaved. Most likely. The 1900 census is a good verification resource because of the influx of immigrants to the U.S. At the time, the 1900 census have been even more detailed information, which includes race, citizenship, nativity, meaning of the birthplace, and parents. Okay, so I heard someone on your show say that some people might have an issue with that. You had a sister on your show that was very powerful and profound. Go check it out on Proper Perspective, The Proper Perspective. What's the name of that show, cuz?
What the channel is The Proper Perspective. That was a conversation about reparations, DNA, and I forget the last term.
In genealogy, I think, or something like that.
And genealogy, yeah.
Yeah. And I think one thing that you brought into the conversation by putting DNA, and she brought that into the conversation. DNA would help us out. We wouldn't have to do all these things. They want to ignore the fact that science is science and that DNA works. They want to ignore the fact that DNA could cut a lot of this confusion out. They want to ignore that. They want to act like it doesn't exist because it really puts a hole in their argument in their ideology. So they conveniently ignore that this debate could be over just by really a quick sample. Oh, we don't believe in DNA. We never. Some of them saying we never been in Africa. We're the explorers, and we're the first nation people, and all those type of things. But then there's those who have some sense, who know that most of us came through the transatlantic slave trade. All right, let's keep going. This is all the stuff that most of us can say, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. But what is the status of people with half FBA? This is where it gets interesting. And half immigrant lineage. Have you seen this part, cuz?
I have seen this. Well, I've seen it because I have been on the site a couple of times. And I'm reading it back over too, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. And I've had more conversation with people about it. So I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm remembering why and where it came from.
Okay. So this is part of the ideology. If you are a person classified as Black who has one parent from an immigrant background and another parent who can be traced to American slave plantations, then you are considered foundational Black American. All right, they didn't. Okay, cool. All right. That means you got one parent. You in there. You a half breed, but you in there. And half breeds need to be looked out for as we continue to talk. It's kind of like a mulatto. They're gonna call you like I don't know. They probably have a term for you, like what do they call you, an anchor baby? I don't know what they call people, but anyway, they got all types of derogatory terms. There is a very important caveat with this designation, and very important caveat. An FBA individual whose non-FBA parental lineage comes from a person who immigrated to the United States after 1970 should not be considered or looked upon as a representative of what? A representative or spokesperson for serious political, social, economic, or judicial issues that affect foundational Black Americans collectively. It's just a lineage. And now they want to tell you, the lineage wants to tell you, the lineage wants to tell you how to treat people who has. So, okay, in fact, let me just use this case study. My sons, that's interesting. My sons is African-American as they are, cannot be considered as Black power as they've been raised, as much as they help their community. My sons, who don't know nothing about Jamaica, for real, besides their mama cook the food, they cannot be considered or looked upon as representatives or spokespeople for serious political, social, economic, or judicial issues that affect foundational Black Americans collectively. That's just a lineage, but what? Now you're saying what they can do politically? What?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, so what you say that? Cause like that's what I'm saying. Like I can't look the holiday, happy holiday, and all that. It's all you get down here to this type of thing, and look, I'm surprised they even have this on the website. So what people will show you on websites believe what is going on underneath the surface. What do you say about that, cuz?
Again, I mean, it's definitely, well, one, I would say they really should just embrace the idea that it is an ideology, because it is so painfully spelled out. when you have all of these rules and definitions and terms and qualifications and qualifiers, that's the very essence of what an ideology is. Now, I do think it's like, even when I'm trying to be generous, even when I'm trying to be like, okay, I ride with you about something, then like, okay, if I like, am I reading it wrong? Are they literally saying that we still rock with you if you have FBA, but because you have FBA, you can't speak for us. You can't speak for us about anything serious, political, social, economic, or judicial, because you only have. You in the fold, but you got to shut your mouth. That's what they say.
Oh yeah. I think you hit it, and I think I lost my space. But oh shoot. But that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying, cuz.
Now they do have another paragraph. And they say the only exception to this rule. So okay, that is the rule.
That's it. I lost my I lost the space, but do you still see it?
I don't know. On your screen, what's showing is just the Google page.
All right, let me go back.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Nice website.
So yeah, in the next section, they do have an exception.
They have an exception. Oh Lord, we didn't get down there yet. Oh boy. All right. So this is, but the goal is, this is not political. Everything political is ideological. Everything, even identity is ideological. But I want to show you that even in their own writing, it shows you that it's very political. I mean, I don't even know why I would even be arguing that. Why people would argue that it's not, because they don't really understand that political is ideological.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like they're getting caught up in what they think is the connotative negative vibe. When you said, well, this is an ideology. No, it ain't. You just think I said something bad. You think I just said something to disrespect you.
That's right.
And so then you're battling back. But I'm like, ideology itself is not a bad word.
Well, it is, brother, because you're giving them too much credit. It is a bad word, because you can, at that point, it becomes a struggle. I mean, maybe, you know what? Then they're going to have to really identify that they're really a religious sect. Because the reality is, if they say it's an ideology, then they're going to have to say, well, they're going to have to even lie and act like everybody's a part of it, like a religious sect, and say, well, we all FBAers, and but the reality is, but people get to choose their ideologies.
Right.
The reason why they want to say it's a lineage is because they're saying, well, we're all here fall into this category. And we even have half-breeds, and half-breeds can be trusted. I mean, they said we have half-breeds, like these people who come from two strong African parents, even not even the one drop rule. We're talking about black continental, black Caribbean, or mixed with black person on this continent, the United States of America. And somehow you got to watch out for those Negroes, because now let's get to let's read this again. An FBA individual whose non-FBA parental lineage comes from a person who immigrated to the United States after 1970 should not be considered or looked upon as a representative or spokesperson for serious political, social, economic, and judicial issues that affect foundational Black Americans successfully. Now, I'm going to just cut to the chase. 1968, some major things happened. Also 1965? I can't remember but anyway, they want to include all the now this is my hypothesis, that they want to be able to include Malcolm X and the others who have parents who have migrated from other spaces. that they know will be our sacred cows. You better not mess with Malcolm. You know. So after 1970, of course, they said this whole the immigrants after that came in and they formed their own communities, and the way that the government organized some laws and things of that nature had them become more displaced. I don't even know what they're talking about, really. I mean, like, every city don't have like immigrant blacks that are separate from the other blacks. Like, I mean, if you're like in maybe New York, perhaps, even Baltimore, just to be honest, we have a major Caribbean population, and they do move out into certain spaces, but it's still very integrated with other Black Americans. You have Park Heights in Baltimore that there's a lot of Caribbean restaurants. There used to be more. A lot of Jamaican, more Jamaican than anything. Then you have Trinidadian and others, you know. But you have the brothers and sisters from the continent, and they might live out in Randallstown, but they also live in the community. And you have to also realize, they'd be like, so where all that? People ask the most interesting question: where the Africans at? Where the Caribbean people at? I ain't go to school with them. I mean, I ain't see them in my, like, bro. First of all, second generation is very difficult to tell because they grew up with you.
Right.
If you ain't ever going to, you hear so many people, even that's part of these documentaries, said, I didn't know they was Caribbean until I went to their house and they offered me a certain type of food.
Right.
You don't always, it's very difficult to just say someone's Caribbean, because what do you think? You're going to do the hairline test that they talk about? Like, it just don't work that easy. Even brothers and sisters from the continent, you know, and it's so crazy. But nonetheless, let's keep going. The only exception to this rule is if the half FBA individual has verified track record of loyalty and tangible contributions to the betterment of the foundational Black Americans on a grassroots level. The reason this rule applies to FBA people who immigrant lineage came to us after 1970 is because the African Caribbean immigrants before that time frame had different collective disposition and relationship. Oh, my sons probably can make it, but who's the officer?
There you go.
Yeah. They don't have, I mean, it's not an ideology. They don't have leaders. So who decides? How do we vote on this? What type of process do they go through? It's not an ideology. There's no leader. There's no body. It's not an organization. Who decides on and who quantifies whether or not the track record is who verifies the track record? Who verifies and quantifies the loyalty and the tangible contributions to the betterment of foundational Black Americans on a grassroots level? And when you get upset with them, can you just call them, if they disagree with you for one thing, and you're going to just say tether?
Yeah, that's I mean, even in the chat, you know, they're still assigning us the label of tether because we're not on the bandwagon. We're not, even if somebody said, I'm halfway on the bandwagon, well, you still a tether because you're not all the way on the bandwagon. So, and as you had made reference when I did have Dr. Carmichael on the show, that was one of the things she was saying. She was like, you know, you get to the point where now you're trying to police the community's own Blackness. And you're trying to police the community's own eligibility. Like, you know, you either fit, you know, if you're an African-American, you're an African-American. Can't nobody, like, you can't, like we may all have a huge problem with Candace Owens. We may all have a huge problem with Clarence Thomas. But no one has raised the flag to say she ain't African-American.
No,
because you can't take the ethnicity from somebody. Even if you want to, you can have some jokes. You know, you can get online and say we want to revoke the black card, but it's a joke. She's still an African American. But that is not the truth. That's not the same with the FBA. As soon as you get out of line, you ain't FBA.
So as soon as you get out of line, you're not FBA. And you know, in cross nigrocense theory on black identity. What they call that is, oh yeah, we all are black, or we have black identity. But someone like a Candace Owens or the young lady who used to be on a Huxtable show, they're more like assimilationists. So they still fall under the umbrella term of African American or what have you. I think, not sure if Candace Owens had some quote unquote lineage elsewhere. Maybe, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
but nonetheless,
somebody in the chat said that she's somebody in the chat said she's Jamaican, and I'm like, okay, you know, so I got a bad example, but you still know what I'm saying. Okay, we can switch it over to Clarence Thomas. The point still holds.
Or Thomas Sowell, or Glenn
Thomas
Laurie,
right,
or many other people like that.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to argue that brother, Frank Zanu, studied them, and and they all getting that bag off of being. They all getting that bag. Even Glenn Laurie talks about, you know, he held his position sometimes and was afraid to come out, and really alter his position because of his audience. You know, there's a lot that like if you really want to be like a Jesse Lee Peterson, there's a lot. Look, you'll get some money, and your YouTube channel will grow quickly.
It will grow, yeah.
The African brother Frank Zanu is like, well, you know, people think I've been doing this for years, and you know, I've only been doing it for 8 months. When he was on the, I want you and I to do a
I saw that.
Yeah, I've only been doing this for 8 months. Yes, if you're going to be a straight in the black community, if you're black and you come out as a straight conservative, hardcore conservative, and hardcore white supremacist points, you're gonna become very popular really quickly.
Yeah.
In that video with the sister, I would like for you and I to do a review of that. She was giving it to him, and she was from like Kenya. She was giving it to him. I think we should do a review of that because I would love it.
I'm down for it. All we got to do is like schedule it up, and then we can chop it up. Because that is one of the ones I was like, I sat down the other day and just started taking notes. I'm like, I feel like a student in class again, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm going in.
And she was giving it to him. And guess what? Her awakening, you can tell, comes from a lot of the African American purportedly allegedly FBA elders, ancestors, and scholars,
right?
Our people. So and it was a good thing. So let me go back to this. I'm gonna try to come off of this and not be here too much longer. Let's see here. We have okay. All right, so let's go back to the ideology. So again, the only exception to the rule is the half FBA individuals has a verified track record of loyalty and tangible contributions to the betterment of Foundation and Black Americans on a grassroots level. Who's the judge? It's not an organization. It's just a lineage. There's no ideology, no precept, concepts, or philosophy. Who judges this?
Tariq.
I was trying not to use his name, but no, it's good. You use it, not me, because they instantly say, you're just mad at Tariq. Oh, God of mercy. Tariq has really, I'm using his name now. He has really trained them well. He has trained them, huh?
He really has.
That is the apologetics and the catechisms. So going forward, it says the reason this rule applies to half FBA people who are immigrant lineage. This is the one drop rule, almost like, I mean, like this is the black version of, you know.
Yeah.
Oh God. Then it took white supremacy talking and stratification systems and created it in an ethnic sense to shut certain people out. That's why, like, when like Brother Diallo and others like, it's no ideology. I'm like, what they like? What is it? I said, white supremacy.
White supremacy.
And
melanated white supremacy.
Melanated, you know. I mean, it's called, you know, the easiest. You think it's going to be easier or whatever. I don't know. Whatever you want to be part of the winning team, even if you have to be the ball boy or whatever they call it, the bat boy or the jockey. I mean, what's the person who carried the clubs for the golfers?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I don't know that name. I was gonna say the water boy, but that's
the water boy. That's the one I was looking for earlier.
Yeah.
So it says it's because African and Caribbean immigrants before that time frame had different collective dispositions. So they didn't generalize the difference in dispositions without giving you any type of research articles to support this claim. Like, they're saying that before 1970, it was okay. They're included if they were here before 1970, but because the African and the Caribbean immigrants before that time frame had different collective dispositions in relationship to the FBA. And guess what? They're not policing it well, because they never asked when a person come on the show, like, were you here before 1970? Okay, you're not a tether then. And likely you're not a tether. Okay, so 1970 would be okay. All right, guys, he's been here before 1970. And because he's been here before 1970, it's plausible, it's highly likable and plausible that he or she isn't a tether. That because their dispositions were different in relation to FBA. It goes on to say the Immigration Act of 1965 law, foundational African American fought for in order to help Black people from Africa and Caribbean to come to the U.S. and assist FBA as a reinforcement against systemic white supremacy. This was because this plays on our emotions. It's way more complex than that, but we'll come back and chop it up. It's trying to say, well, when you see the Africans, it plant seasoning. You see them and they got the job and they're looking like they don't treat you with respect. Know that you fought for that. And I think there's so the reality is there's some truth to that. There's a level of truth to that, but it's being weaponized and is a subtle seed of ideology and is not telling the full story. And we will go deeper. This is 101. We're just going to hit the general today. But 101, right. We might have like a 101-2 or 102. Or right. You about to say something, cuz?
No, go ahead. You on point. Go ahead.
This was because the few Black people who were able to immigrate the U.S. before 1965 acted as strong allies to foundation. Where did they? And then, so now after 1965. They changed up on us. They just all changed up. They acted as strong allies. They were acting, in fact. I don't think that's what they mean, but maybe they do. And see, everything, words are essential. Acted as strong allies to the foundational Black Americans. This is part of the mythology. This is mythology here, y'all. During Jim Crow, because they're not going to see, they're talking about behavioral differences, but you have to look at the entire story. But people who have succumbed to trauma, who have not healed from trauma, will only give you fragments of any story. They will not give you the entire story. They'll pull out the pieces to keep you traumatized, to keep you in the trance. During the Jim Crow era in America, African and the Caribbean immigrants did not have their own segregated enclaves apart from FBA. Oh, God. Some places they do, and some places they still don't. And yeah, if you're in Baltimore, you don't know who you living next to. It's a reality. You know, in order for them to thrive, they had to have unity with foundational Black Americans. And I'm going back to a point. When people ask the question, I don't see them in my community. The other craziness is you're not going to see as many immigrants from the continent or the Caribbean in your neighborhood to equal to yours, to the what you call FBA, because the population isn't that large. And that's on top of the fact that they've integrated so well that you can't even tell. Mm-hmm. They practice African-American culture outside the house. Now, you have where some and many have evolved to maintain their culture, but in fact, a lot of them, my good brother Montu, you can't tell me he's not an African-American. He had to realize at some point, I'm pardon Montu, but he had to realize at some point that he had to realize, damn, I'm not like my mother and father from Jamaica. So, but he grew up here. So it's like he had to really think about it, like, damn, my grandparents don't come from here. But he's so entrenched in African-American culture because he grew up here. He had to really take a step back and say, damn, I'm not like African-American the same way you African-American. You know, he had to like really look at that. In order for them to thrive, they had to have unity with foundational Black Americans and get on code, that's their word, with them against the common enemy, which was and is white supremacy. The white supremacy is practiced within FBA, and white supremacy is, it can't be denied that we all have been punch drunk by it. And people like the Frank Zanus are practicing white supremacy at best. He tries to intellectualize it. He's very tricky. He makes good points at times, but then he can't hold fast on anything. So let's see if there's anything else I want to hit here. Let me just finish it up real quick. Because of their track record of loyalty and dedication to the fight against white supremacy during this era, many Black immigrants and half FBA activists became respected spokespersons for Foundation of Black Americans. People like Jamaican immigrants, Marcus Garvey, there you go. They're going to be clear. We're not talking about them because we don't want that fight.
Right.
So they're going to be like, okay, we have some exceptional Negroes here. So people like Jamaican immigrants, Marcus Garvey, and half FBA Malcolm X, whose father was FBA and mother was from Grenada, became icons to FBA. So they didn't want that smoke. You hear me? They didn't want that smoke. They knew if they didn't clarify that they would have too much smoke and it would challenge their ideology. Right. So after I just give them a point they can talk about, because most of them haven't read this and they're going to now say you're going to start hearing around the internet. Oh, well, after 1970, Malcolm X was before 1970. You're going to start hearing them now because they didn't even read this themselves.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
I haven't really heard them saying that. But J. Edgar Hoover, FBI COINTELPRO agenda was in full swing at this time, targeting and neutralizing Black organizations and any form of Black solidarity with other empowerment-minded individuals. This was also the time when large groups of African and Caribbean immigrants were being allowed to come to the U.S. government, would come up with ways to use some immigrant groups as buffers against foundational Black Americans. I mean, let's look. Okay. Now you want to say how they use immigrants as buffer groups, and the U.S. government didn't intend on allowing another Marcus Garvey or Stokely Carmichael. Then they trying to play with the words like, well, we still love Marcus Garvey and Stokely Carmichael though. But at the same time, they're saying they use buffer groups as if they didn't use us against us within they call FBA. Mm-hmm. Like, you're leaving out things. That's what a traumatized mind does. But I think the trauma for this particular person is a little different. And let me be clear. I want to play a clip. Starting in 1970, the U.S. government implemented benign neglect policy against foundational Black Americans while they began to prioritize allocating tangible resources. Immigrant groups consequently incentivized many individuals from immigrant backgrounds to collaborate with white supremacists. You see how we're not talking about all of them, but you see the generalization there, right? Like the seeds that are being planted and sabotage the progress for FBA, the danger of allegiances. Okay. Historically, there have been two types of half FBA individuals. In the general sense, loyalists to the FBA lineage and heritage, anchored tethers. Now, they didn't put a lot of work into this because they must have had some arguments like, what about Malcolm? What about Malcolm? So they had to do a little bit extra work. Loyalists to their FBA lineage and heritage. 2, anchored tethers who view, it's a beautiful thing. Because after this class, FBA is going to better be able to fight better. Because they're going to start mentioning these things because I just taught them their own apologetics.
Right.
I am giving you points on how to be a better apologist. I'll guarantee you're going to start hearing them say, well, because 1970 and before, like you haven't heard them say these things. And Malcolm X, they would never come back. But now that I'm giving them a lesson that helped them out with their fallacious fight. That's sad. But let's see. So there's 2 types. Half FBA individuals in a general sense. Loyalists to the FBA lineage and heritage. Anchored tethers who view FBA society as a group to exploit, ultimately, and replace. Okay, so it's black and white. That's all you got. You got 2. They either all for us or all against us. There's no nuance. It's black and white. It's trauma written. There's nothing in between. There's no nuance here. All or nothing. Them against us. And you trying to tell me it's not there? That's a traumatized ideology. FBA has to currently be skeptical about certain half FBA people. Just listen to that. Like just to say half FBA is like, wow, it does something for your mind. Like, oh, you're a half breed. Yeah. Who want to act as? Say it again.
No, go ahead. I'm saying, yeah, it does. It's insidious.
Yes, it is very insidious. FBA has currently FBA's. Let me not do that. I love y'all. I was going to say look it up, but FBA has to currently be skeptical. See, this is that trauma stuff, and this is what people do in their religions. They say, don't greet them Godspeed. Anyone who does not bring you this doctrine, do not greet them with Godspeed. That's why I put it down lower in the subgroup in the religious categories almost. FBA has to currently be skeptical about certain half FBA people who want to act as spokespersons for FBA collectively. Why do they come back here? If a person has dual allegiances to different ethnic groups and cultures, this is like, you can't be Pan-African. It's difficult to determine if they will look out for the best interests of FBA. You hear that? That right there, you can't have dual or like it has in their mind, black and white dual. Instead of saying I have allegiance to all African people or my people here in America and my people here in the continent, I have to now forgo one for the other.
Yeah, and that's really it's really straight up out of the white man's mind. Like,
go ahead.
This
brother.
is how white people this is how white people think. They even this government went through this whole thing about whether or not they were going to issue dual citizenship and who should be allowed to get dual citizenship, because they were saying they're afraid that if they give dual citizenship, people would have this tug of war on who they're going to be loyal to. But it's all stemming from white man mindedness. I mean, quite frankly, it's not that difficult to be able to separate. You can sit in 2 different camps and assist both camps. But the notion that if you are in 2 different camps, you're going to be an enemy to one, that's paranoia at best.
Oh my God. It is. And it's also a trigger. It's a doctrine. It's a doctrine to exacerbate the trauma that's already there, that's laid dormant. It's a trigger. It's a way to penetrate those who have done healing. Because there's those of us who do the hard work. Because when you're in this society and we all get touched by this ideology of white supremacy, and I say ideology, be clear. I don't want no debates, Diallo. I'm not saying it's a real thing. So it's an ideology that we all are fighting. That is that Afrophobia that Dr. Wade Noble speaks about and others. We've been taught to hate ourselves. So when we go through these healing processes, all you have to do is read this and say, this is bullshit. Excuse my language. And then you go to work and you see an African brother say, who didn't smile at you. And you say, you know what? I didn't even believe that shit. But look, see him? They right about that shit. That's how it is. And this is how people implant ideas in your mind. It's kind of like that person, you know, when you've been around a person and you've been listening to, they be like, well, you know, such and such, he's all about himself. He don't care about nobody else. And you're like, no, he's a good bro. He's a good bro. No, he good. 3 years later, you ask him something, he says no. And then what comes back to your mind? He is all about himself. All he said was no one time. And now that seed that was been planted now germinates. And when you now, with that trauma, you start to look for other evidence to support that madness. And that's what people do when they're horrible scientists. They don't look for things to debunk the accuracy of a thing. They look for things to support it. And it's really easy to pull for straws, quite like this doctrine has done, to support whatever fallacious identity that you want to make. And the identity, moreover, not the identity, but moreover, the ideology that supports this fallacious identity, because the identity was created for the ideology. It says, where did I leave off? It says, let me just start over. It gets a little bit interesting here. FBA has to currently be skeptical about certain half FBA people who want to act as spokespersons for FBA collectively. If a person has dual allegiances to different ethnic groups and cultures, it's difficult to determine if they will look out for the best interests of FBA, even for FBA. Here we go. Who has a history of prioritizing other groups. If you speak up for, I guess that sounds like if you just speak up for another group. Oh, no, you know, we need to do better. Oh, see, they prioritize. This is the doctrine. This is the catechism. This is the seed planted in your mind that tells you they are the enemy. Let's say it again. Even full FBA who has a history of priority or of prioritizing other groups, religions. What other religions? Why is religion in here now? So now religion in here, and you're just a lineage, like prioritizing other religions. What religion is the FBA religion? What religion is the FBA religion? And sexual intersectionality over the best interest of foundational Black Americans must be viewed with reservations. So they now become the enemy. The words say with reservations, but look, you know what that means. That's planting. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. I'm tripping. I'm reading this stuff right along with you. So,
and we talked about ain't no ideology. If anybody tells me there's not an ideology after today, I don't know what to do for you.
Yeah, like I said, they would be better off saying yes, it's an ideology and we can defend it. Now, I'm not saying that they'd be able to defend it, but again,
keep helping them out, cuz keep helping them out.
When you
give them a lesson, teach
when you deny when you deny clear facts, obvious facts, it's like you got your head up, you know what? It's just like it's clearly an ideology. It's clearly a laid out philosophical overview that is supposed to drive your optics, drive your mind towards thinking in a very specific way about very specific people, about very specific topics.
Absolutely.
So if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's not a pigeon.
It's dark. It's even dark when you read it. Like, if you're a healed person, it really like, damn, this is what they put on the website. You was about to say something.
No, I'm exasperated because it's like, yeah, when you really think, I was gonna say loud and proud, but wrong. But that's the thing, and to some extent, I will say it also stems from at least a little bit of just the zeitgeist of America as it is. You know, the Donald Trump effect is to dig deep down. And get real close, put your hands on all the vitriol and the hate that you've been carrying, and let that light shine. And let that be your rallying call, your trademark, the flag of hatred. And it is what Trump is good at, and is what he is, using to guide the nation, so to speak. And this group of individuals, they're just dipping it in chocolate.
My dear brother, and I agree with him that I don't know what he meant, but he said something on his post, and he's been kind of ascribing to FBA. And one of my brothers, not my biological brother, but one of my brothers in the movement, been subscribing to this. And one of the things he said, there's more there, like all groups. Now he says all groups have their more extreme factions, but this is the quintessential group. This is the mother of the group. This is, as you look at the website, it's the website, and the word I was looking for earlier, because it's official FBA.com. This is the official FBA doctrine. This is the official one where the copyright owner owns the copyright, and the one who created the term created and put together, I believe. Yeah. Official FBA.com. You can check me on that if this is the official website from him. I think it, yeah, I'm pretty sure
it is. It is.
Yeah. So, so let's continue, and we're going to finish it up here, I believe. And almost all, okay, again, let's back up. I'm recursive because I like to, this is about educating. This is not about debating. Even for FBA, who has a history of prioritizing other groups, religions, and sexual intersectionality, and God knows, I have a debate with intersectionists, but I can't make them not African American.
Exactly.
And I'm coming to debate and really speak against that too, because there's some divisiveness there. Over the best interests of foundational Black Americans must be viewed with reservations. Okay. Okay, that's a call. That's kind of like Trump said. I didn't say it, but I didn't tell them to go and run into the Capitol, whatever they did down there. Like, I didn't say it, but you incited it. You incited it. And almost all you about to say something?
No, go ahead.
And almost all native and aboriginal societies, when people allow outsiders with dual allegiances, you hear how they pull it on. So even when you go above, when they talk about, well, you can be this, and that 1970 got lost in the sauce by now. It's like you go to this whole thing. Well, we have flexibility, and go right back and you pour it on. Like they're all enemies. Like this is psychological warfare going on here, family. In almost all native and aboriginal societies, when people allow outsiders with dual allegiances to hold up. Oh, I'm not reading the same thing over. It's kind of like, see, it's redundant. And it's redundant and recursive to instill it in your brain.
Right.
And that's why I'm saying I'm a psychosocial therapist. And we have to do some psychosocial cognitive restructuring. So in almost all native and aboriginal societies, when people allow outsiders with dual allegiances to other nations or ethnic groups to act as their representatives, this ultimately cause the decline of their societies. Source, please. This happened in the 16th century with the Portuguese colonizers, Lancados, married into royal West African families. The mixed race offsprings from they didn't pulled out something. We're gonna give you an example here. We're gonna go. The Portuguese colonizers called Lancados, married into royal West African families. The mixed race offsprings from these unions, who were enslaved, elevated to powerful positions, often sided with the European side of their lineage. Now, guess what? People typically, it seems, lost people will side as FBA does, and a lot of these other groups, wittingly or unwittingly, side with the oppressor. Many of us unwittingly do so. Often sided with the European side of their lineage to ultimately undermine African society and help facilitate the transatlantic slave trade. All right, now, see, you gotta keep it in there. Often sided with the European side of the lineage to ultimately undermine African society and help. Now, I don't have the fact checks or anything on this. We'll look at the information later. But what I will say is, it is media warfare. It doesn't matter whether or not it's true or it's stretched or whatever it is. That's not the point. The point here is it's being used and weaponized in a way to impact your affect, emotions, and to instill certain political positions in you that control your actions. Ideology. The same thing happened to the Native American tribes, who allowed, this is like, you got to put the violin on, like Brother Talker be doing. The same thing happened to many Native American tribes who allowed European colonizers to intermarry into their groups and become representatives for them. This was the beginning of the decline of their societies. Oh God, they didn't need to marry in to decline these societies, folk. I can tell you that right now. They didn't have to intermarry. They didn't.
Right.
White people or white settlers, they didn't have to marry into. They didn't have any. They didn't. What do they call it? They didn't hold any. What's the word? By Brother Shabazz. Everybody was say it again.
No, go ahead. Everybody was a.
It's kind of like everybody. They didn't really care. There was no. What's the term I'm looking for? It's like no prisoners, or what? How did they say it?
No. Ain't no love in war. No, that ain't it.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, they didn't really care who you were. If you were in their way, they were going to. They will oppress anybody, and anybody got in their way, they would wipe them out. They didn't really care. It doesn't matter. Like the marrying in part is like a part of the the propaganda here. Like, they didn't have to marry, they would rape your women. they would rape you, they would rape the men. They didn't have to marry you to do that. In fact, it was illegal at times, and they still was ruling over you. It was illegal to marry in some cases, in spaces and time frames, but they still practice white supremacy. In modern times, in colonization, in modern times, the white establishment deliberately elevates non-FBA or anchored tethers to act as spokespersons and leaders for foundational Black Americans. And the results of this practice has been devastating for FBA. Now, you know, when I read that, I think this is hot. Well, I'm going to say disingenuous, like all the rest of the stuff wasn't. But really, like, I'm thinking, like, all these people that are FBA that are also in power, what do you say about them? What are they doing?
Well, I'm like,
go ahead.
Because that's, to some extent, that's where they should be putting a little bit more of their energy, their anger and whatnot. Like, you know, we clearly have a track record of a certain, you know, the Congressional Black Caucus, for example, and, you know, Black mayors and Black school board members and whatnot. And a lot of them have not necessarily been fighting the right fight. At least that's the perception. Now, but you do better to say, wait a minute, we need to hold these people accountable. Then start screaming just because, you know, a person with Jamaican ancestry just got elected into the House. Like, that's not where your problems stem from. If you got a Black mayor and the Black mayor ain't never, you know, sided with the community on the community issue, your problem is not the new Jamaican backgrounded mayor. It's the FBA that didn't do nothing.
Yeah, you know what they're utilizing right now, and I heard that their leaderless has jumped on this situation that just took place in Maryland, or was it Maryland or Baltimore? Maryland. And the governor who vetoed the reparation study bill or what have you,
right,
who I think he has some Caribbean ancestry, or maybe on one side or another.
Yeah.
So in fact, I heard that, now this, you could correct me if I'm wrong, that FBA said they were against the studies themselves and we need to take action. And he said something very similar, but he vetoed it to say we don't need any studies. We need to do something, you know, for whatever political reasons why he did it. And they're utilizing that to say, well, look, this tether has stopped he's vetoed the bill to study reparations. And I think from what I've looked at a little, and I could be wrong on this one, is that they, for the most part, think that the study is fruitless as well. But even with that, let's say that they even support that, it doesn't change what I'm about to say.
Okay.
And what I'm about to say is this: so one of the main organizations that fought to overturn that veto, to influence the Black Caucus, was a revolutionary Pan-Africanist group here in Baltimore by the name of Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. So let me say that again. One of the main groups that's doing major things in the reparations was Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. You would go and see Davon Love on the Karen Hunter show, and he's explaining how it was overturned. And he will explain that he and his comrades, good brother Lawrence and the sisters and everyone who works with that organization, who do wonderful and beautiful work here in Baltimore on the political front always down at our state capital, Annapolis, really fighting on behalf of us here, which is another fallacy and myth that Black Pan-Africans don't do anything here. They don't want to do things here. They're all about saving Africa when everything we do is right here. Because many of us are saying, if you really were a part of the Pan-Africanist movements, you would hear that people say we're not doing enough over there. Most of us do our work right here.
Right.
And we don't, and there's, yeah, so without belaboring that point, I'm going to finish this last sentence here. I think, did I finish it already? In modern times, the white establishment deliberately elevates non-FBA or anchored tethers to act as spokespersons and leaders for foundational Black Americans, and the results of their practice has been devastating for FBA. They're putting all the blame on them. For this reason, foundational Black Americans should consider other qualified full FBA representatives to act as spokespersons for the collective interests of the ethnic group. That's how we're going to choose people depending on their ethnicity, not on their policy. What does that sound like? Brother Cuz, what you got for me before we go close on out?
Well, eventually they're going to get themselves into a trick bag, because again, they're operating under the assumption that a full-fledged FBA is always going to side with them.
They already in a trick bag. That's it.
Well, I mean, that's what it is. That's the last statement on there. And so I'm like, again, all you got to do is just start mentioning the full-fledged FBAs who've been in office, who take public stances and positions that are absolutely against the quote-unquote Black community, the FBA community. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, you can say all of this, but okay, you know, again, Clarence Thomas, since I'm no longer allowed to use Candace Owens, I still got Clarence Thomas. And what's the other Dr. Ben Carson? I still got Dr. Ben Carson. It's full-fledged